Really nice to see you or hear from you. So I've got coerced by Jim now into talking about diving for your mental health and happiness. So this briefing draws a lot on a program called Action for Happiness. Does introduce myself, presents an overview of Action for Happiness, and looks at it in a bit of detail. A quick health warning: I've got a bit of a dark sense of humour at times. I really do treat people and difficulties seriously and do my very best to help. I'm John Kermode. I joined my local Isle of Man branch at the age of 17 on the Isle of Man, and I've been diving more or less continuously since then in 1969. I'm a first-class diver and national instructor. I'm diving officer of the Isle of Man branch of the British-Sub-Aqua Club. I'm a rebreather diver and rebreather bore and a rebreather instructor. Professionally, I'm a practitioner psychologist, an associate fellow of the British Psychological Society. I'm a member of the British Psychological Society Crisis, Disaster and Trauma Psychology section. And I worked for the Isle of Man government for 28 years. First working as the only psychologist on the Isle of Man working with children and families, and then ending up managing special education for them. I retired from government about 12 years ago, and I thought I'd get bored, so I trained as a family mediator. I train lay people and professionals in suicide prevention. I'm a member, deputy chair and chair of the Isle of Man Parole, deciding who gets out of jail. I did 10 years as a court protection visitor in the UK, which is really about helping, supporting, monitoring people that may or may not have capacity. So I suppose a question for you, first of all, are there any fans out there of Douglas Adams' Hitch-Hiker's Guide to the Galaxy, apart from me? Well, Hitch-Hiker's Guide first appeared, I think it was in 1978, when I was actually undertaking my postgrad professional training in psychology. And the advice of don't panic in large friendly letters on the cover, I felt that was the most useful advice anybody had given me in 7 years of psychology training. And if you remember the subplot of Hitch-Hiker's Guide, it was that a group of galactic psychiatrists had arranged to demolish the supercomputer, which was the Earth, that was just about to produce the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. As in knowing the answer, people throughout the universe would be so happy that they wouldn't need to pay psychiatrists anymore, and all the psychiatrists would be out of a job. Now, there's loads of talking therapies, and there's questions about, does medication work better than talking therapies for people that have got difficulties? Many people are anxious they may head to their GP, but there are lots and lots of talking therapies about. There's pretty good evidence that cognitive behavioral therapy is as good or better than most medication. But it takes an awful lot longer to deliver than a 15-minute GP appointment to pick up a prescription. Action for Happiness, which I'm talking about a lot, tries to help people take action for a happier, kinder world. And I'll talk about that as we go. But I suppose a legitimate question is, if you or somebody else is anxious, depressed, experiencing dementia or delusions, is the issue the label, the diagnosis, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association's category? Or is it that you're unhappy, or that the people around you are unhappy? Might be a different issue again, if those around you perhaps are unhappy. There's a shed load of therapies and therapists about. I pulled up a list, one website said 19 types of psychological therapies. Oh yeah, and more. I pulled up a list from Wikipedia just out of interest about how many psychotherapies. And I just picked up the list of A to C, and it just got overwhelming. Definition of therapy is an intervention intended to relieve or treat a disorder. So I guess the question from me is unhappiness a disorder? And what's the evidence that anything is relieved or treated by the therapy? Hopefully that's in addition to the bank balance of the paid therapist. There's good evidence that CBT has a good effect as medication. Professionally, I really like, if I'm dealing with people with anxiety or depression, pointing them towards the Action for Happiness materials, because it's the inverse of being unhappy, anxious, depressed, and it's focusing on the positive side of how do we promote happiness. There's a subgroup of CBT called acceptance and commitment therapy, and broadly it's about, well, learning to accept what's not in your power to change, committing to change what you personally can change. And I think that's not a bad message for life, in my view. It's about being comfortable in your own skin. I'm going to spend a bit of time looking at Action for Happiness and themes and relating these to diving. If you are experiencing personal issues, or you've got a family or friend that needs some help and needs some help in finding local resources for yourself, then message me afterwards to John Kerr at BSAC.com. I'll put that email address on the last slide today as well. So Action for Happiness, picks up the acronym of G.R.E.A.T, and the focus is on what makes people happy. And it's all stuff that's got really quite good support from research. And the focus is on promoting happiness rather than the treatment of depression or anxiety. Action for Happiness is a charity. It's based in the UK and aims to increase happiness in the world by bringing together like-minded people from all walks of life and supporting them to take practical action to build a happier and more caring society. And it does draw on decent research. But do a search on the web for their site for more information. They pick up on 10 keys. Giving, do something for others. And our generosity is hardwired into the reward mechanisms in our brain. And when we give our time, our energy and kindness to others, it not only helps them, it improves our mood and well-being too. So, volunteer your time, energy and skills. Make something happen for a good cause. Help out a friend in need. Sometimes just talking helps if somebody is going through rough times, and letting them know that you're there for them can make all the difference and help them get through. But, doing kind things to others. What goes around comes around. With kindness, it really does. And the interesting stuff is that there's some good research that says that being kind to others increases our own levels of happiness as well as theirs. I think there was a great quote about doing things for others in John Kennedy's inaugural address in 1961. That's not what your country can do for you. That's what you can do for your country. In our context, how about as divers, a paraphrase? Don't ask what my branch is doing for me. Instead, what can I do for my branch and my buddies? Relating is about connecting with people. People with strong, broad social relationships, not just with one person, but broadly than that, are happier, healthier, and live longer. But broad networks bring a sense of belonging. So taking action to strengthen our relationships and build connections really is important for happiness. So, as divers, well, how about organise or just go to branch social events and support pool sessions, open water training and diving? Exercise is a real key to happiness. If I'm picked up somebody who's very down, who's very depressed, one of the things you try to do is get them out and to exercising, because that you'll get that rush of endorphins of just getting moving, and that really does help improve mood, and it should be part of people's daily activity. And if people's mood is down, it's really hard to do to get yourself motivated. And often you need sort of friends and families to help you, sort of nag you and to try to help you in some of those things. Obviously, the body and mind are connected, but being active makes us happier as well as being good for our physical health overall. It instantly improves mood and can lift many people out of a depression. From divers, just becoming dive fit is really important, not for ours and our body's safety, but for our mood as well. So, when we can, get into swimming, pool sessions, aim to do some exercise, raise your pulse rate every day. It has a real positive effect on mood. Action of Happiness talks about awareness, and by that they're saying live life mindfully. And mindfully is just being attentive to and aware of what's taking place now. There's only two keys to it. Actually spend a few minutes doing it and accept rather than judge what it is we notice. And as divers, diving presents brilliant opportunities to pause, to chill, to be aware of your surroundings. Action Happiness flags up trying out, about learning new things, keep learning new things, because it affects our well-being in lots of positive ways. It exposes us to new ideas and helps us to stay curious and engaged. And it gives us a sense of accomplishment. It helps boost our self-confidence and resilience. And in diving, well, what about? There's loads of opportunities to learn new skills, work towards higher qualifications levels, take an instructor course, do some self-study. And it all adds that newness, helps people's moods. Direction is about having goals to look forward to, because feeling good about the future is important for our happiness. We all need goals to motivate us, and these need to be challenging enough to excite us, but also to be achievable. We attempt impossible. This brings in unnecessary stress, so it's trying to pitch stuff that we can definitely do, but the effort is worthwhile. Choosing ambitious but realistic goals gives our lives direction, brings a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction when we achieve them. Goals help focus our attention, and actively working towards them appears to be important for our well-being, as achieving the end result we were aiming for. And most successful when there's something we want to achieve, and we set them for ourselves rather than being something somebody else wants us to do. So in diving, loads of opportunities to walk towards new goals, just the next level skill development, advanced diver, first class diver, national instructor. And this is a picture from the first day of a national instructor event a few years ago at Portland, where we've got a whole bunch of people really put a lot of time and effort into achieving their goal with great success. Resilience is about finding ways to bounce back, because all of us have times of stress, of loss, of failure, of trauma in our lives. But how we respond to these has a really big impact on our well-being. Research shows that resilience isn't a rare quality found in a few extraordinary people. But in practice, although it's not easy, it's really possible to learn some of the skills of resilience. Diving isn't easy. There's physical effort, there's skills to learn and keep current, dives to plan and undertake. Not all of them will work as we hoped. I guess we need a mindset that perfection isn't possible and that we can learn a lot from a good attempt. In emotions, it's look for what's good. Focus on the positive. Positive emotions like joy, gratitude, contentment, inspiration, pride are not just great at the time, But research again shows us that regularly experiencing them creates an upward spiral that helps us build our own personal resources. So although we need to be realistic about life's ups and downs, it helps us to focus on the good aspects of any situation. The glass half full rather than half empty. So going diving will really experience the wow factor at times. But at times we may scare ourselves as well. We'll experience satisfaction as well as frustration, and experience the range of emotions as part of being human. No one's perfect, but so often we compare our insides to other people's outsides, and dwelling on our flaws, what we're not rather than what we've got, makes it much harder to be happy. And learning to accept ourselves, warts and all, being kinder to ourselves when things go wrong, increases our enjoyment of life, our resilience and our well-being. If I'm working with people professionally, people are often into the negative mindset about themselves. And one of the aspects is, how do we help you develop a positive mantra, positive stuff about all the things you're good at and the things that you're respected for, even though if you're down, you find it hard to do that yourself. I think it also helps us to accept others as they really are. I really like the maxim of perfection appertains only to the Almighty. And I challenge some of my friends who are great believers in a deity, that often we can make such a foul up of any situation between us that today we probably haven't done anything to worry too much any deity that you believe in. It's the reality. We set out to do stuff well, but sometimes it doesn't always come off. Growing to be comfortable in your own skin and to accept rather than getting annoyed with the imperfections of yourself and others cause an awful lot of less personal grief. Searches that people have got meaning and purpose in their lives are happier and feel more in control. They get more out of what they do. They experience less stress, less anxiety, and less depression. And it may be for some people a religious faith, being a parent, or doing a job that makes a difference. The answers vary for each of us, but they all involve being connected to something bigger than ourselves. In a small way, just being connected to BSAC gives some purpose and part of being something a lot bigger. So in this short presentation, we've picked up on some of the themes, and a quick anecdote from myself. As a number of years ago, I was at a conference in psychology in London and having drinks before dinner, and it was running late, so we had a couple of gyms more than we planned, and I was ending up talking to a psychiatrist, and we were talking about the difficulties that he and I experience with people who are coming to see us professionally, but are so nervous about what the experience is going to be like for the first time. And he told me that on the first appointment, he said, I will explain that there are two personality types. There are FHBs and CAs. FHBs are those who learn to take the rough with the smooth in life. They understand that sometimes they'll be really happy, and other time life and events will lead them to being really sad. They'll know that they'll experience periods of elation and other times of distress, unhappiness, and probably bereavement. They don't think that they're perfect. They know that the world isn't designed just to revolve around them and their interests. In other words, they're fallible human beings, FHBs. On the other hand, there are CAs, or complete arseholes. Hope you found this presentation interesting. I've found diving a great distraction, a challenge, and still really great fun. If you'd like to learn more about Action for Happiness, then just do a web search or message me. If you've got a friend or you or a family member is struggling with their own mental health, a GP is a good start. But if you need help in connecting to other services, message me on John Kermode at bsac.com.